Hello, everyone, and a happy new year. New year, new studio, new lockdown, same rubbish. Much as I enjoyed doing these last time around, I didn't really expect to be doing it quite so soon again, and under these particular circumstances. And yet, here we are. So, happy new year. Welcome everybody back again. It's the Lent term, it's 2021. I hope you're all well. I hope you all got through Christmas safe and sound. I hope you all ducked the wave of COVID that caught us just as we were ready to leave. I know a lot of people got hit by the bug. I did. I had a very mild dose of it, and that was unpleasant enough. I know awful lot of people out there have had much worse than me, and I wish you all the very best. And I hope that we all make a quick recovery and we're all back in situ as quickly as we possibly can. That's where we are. But right now, this is probably what we're thinking about. It's really, here we go again. Slightly different, slightly the same. We do have at least the benefit of having been through this before. We've learned. I think the SDLP last time around worked incredibly well, and hopefully we'll take these lessons into this next version. But it's going to be tricky. We accept that, and we accept that right from the get-go. And hence this. I'm sure you guys remember this from when you were younger. I certainly remember it from when reading it with my kids. And I'm going to come back to that again, and probably a lot of times over the next few months. Anyway, this is really what I want to talk about today. It looks like quite a lot. I'm going to talk about the SDLP in great detail, particularly for those in the lower six who might not have had it last year. But we'll get through all of this, and then we'll see what we're thinking about. So, the road ahead until pretty much this time last night looked a bit like that. Of course, now we know that has gone. And that puts us in a position of uncertainty. And somebody on the radio this morning or yesterday put it incredibly well, that uncertainty, well, you guys can read. It's when we don't know that things get really, really tricky. The knowns we can deal with, or at least we know they're out there. It's the not knowing. And right now we are in a position of not knowing. But rather than focusing on the not knowing, then I think the smart thing to do is to focus on the things that we do know about. And this is going to be one of the themes of the term. I mentioned earlier themes of the term. This is one. We accept this. We accept that uncertainty is the enemy of well-being, but we choose to focus on the things that we do know. And we do know at this stage that the lower six is going to be on the SDLP until the half term, and that the upper six is going to have its January mocks postponed. We're going to run with the March mocks as much as we can. We'll try to fold some more mocks into those, but we're not going to hit you with a huge slew of mocks. Yeah, expect you to be on the SDLP and then just drown you in mocks. That would be nuts. We're not going to do that. We're going to make sure that we just do enough. And it's going to be sensible, and we're going to talk to you about it. We're not going to impose this as diktat. This has to be a dialogue because this is an unusual situation. We're going to talk to you as much as we can and make sure that we guide you through the process because we're going on this process together. This is a new one again, like last year, but different. And again, we have to learn those lessons from last year and make sure that we take them into this particular lockdown. So I did talk earlier about themes. I'm going to try to keep it simple. Those of you who've had the misfortune to be taught by me know that I love my threes. Uncertainty is the enemy of well-being. We've already talked about that. So we focus on what we know rather than what we don't. It's good to talk and get outdoors whenever you can. Those two I'm going to deal with when I get to them. But let's again think about the things we can control. Those things on the left-hand side, we know them, okay? We've been through this before. You've all done it. We all did this last year. It was pretty ghastly. Certainly by the end, it was really, really tough. But we know this. And going into this now, we can look at the things that we know. We know that this too shall pass. At some point, this is just going to be a story that we remind ourselves about. This is going to finish, and we will come through the other side. And that means that we have this time now. We have this time to make the best possible use of. And to help us do that, we need a routine. And we need places and we need rewards. Now, the routine and the place and the rewards, these are things that I've talked about in my revision as a thing. If you haven't seen those presentations, perhaps in the lower six you haven't, well, go and look at them up. Go and look them up. They're on YouTube. I'm not going to go into them here. I'll link off to them in the advice here. But I'm going to talk more about routine. I'm going to talk more about the SDLP at the end of this presentation. But it's very, very important that as well as having a routine, you have a place and you give yourself rewards. And I explain that much more in that presentation. I'm repeating myself. I should move on. We can't control what's going to happen at the end of the year. We don't know what's going to happen. The government doesn't know what's going to happen. Perhaps you might have heard Michael Gove on the radio this morning. He didn't rule out exams. He didn't rule out CAGs because that's the way he works. He's a very accomplished politician in that sense, at least. Exams have not been crossed off the list. CAGs have not been crossed off the list. The government is keeping its options open because it simply doesn't know how this particular series of events is going to run out. We don't know. And anybody who tells you they do know is either lying or trying to sell you something. So we don't know how the exams or the end of year grading is going to happen. We just don't. We can't rule anything out. We can't rule anything in. We also don't know how the pandemic is going to unfold, but at least we do know that we have the vaccine coming, and that's going to make a huge difference. And we don't know what's going to happen in politics, which obviously my politics students know all about already. But there are things we can control, there are things we can't. Let's focus on the things we can, because that will enable us to get things done so that we can come out of this on the other side bigger, stronger, and faster. So that's obvious. I think this is fairly obvious as well. We have to talk. We are sociable creatures, okay? And in lockdown, that can become difficult. My poor kids have just had 3 weeks with me in the house. I invite you to think what that might be like. They wanted to get out of here. They wanted to get back to school, which again was an entirely new experience for them as well, because they're sick and tired of talking to me. I don't blame them. We need to talk. We need to talk to as many people as we possibly can. We need to keep these chains of communication open, because if we're not talking to other people, then we fall into introspection. And that's rarely helpful and even less often healthy. So avoid introspection as much as you can. Talk to other people. Have dialogues rather than monologues. They're much more effective at helping us to make sense of our situation, of our feelings, and how we're going to get through them. Now, with that in mind, we're going to move into weekly tutorials. We're going to move into weekly tutorials because the tutors are going to help you. They're going to be the first line of academic quality control. So if the SDLP is not working for you, talk to your tutors and they will help you put that right. They're also there for your pastoral well-being. Now, we're not social workers. We've probably worked that bit out now. We're teachers. But that doesn't mean that we can't talk to you and we can't help you and we can't just be somebody that you can talk to as well. We're not necessarily going to come up with the answers. I'd be surprised if we came up with many. But we can at least ask you the questions that might help you to find the answers that you need. Now, cameras. Again, we keep coming back to this idea of face-to-face contact. Cameras in tutorials are initially not on. By which I mean, I recognize the value of face-to-face tutorials, but for all sorts of very, very good reasons, we can't go down that until we have secured the permission of both sides of the equation. That you guys want it and that your parents are happy with it. If you want to have face-to-face tutorials and if your parents are happy having face-to-face tutorials, then we can do so. We need that confirmed in email. In an ideal world, would I rather this weren't the case? Well, yeah, absolutely. But newsflash, it's not an ideal world. And for the security of both sides of this particular equation, we need to have that confirmation in place. So cameras in tutorials, that's individual one-on-one tutorials, are off until you have confirmed that you're happy to go down that particular road. So that's the tutorial side of it. That's the procedural bit, looking after your academic side, looking after the pastoral side. But then what I really want the tutors to do, and what I've encouraged the tutors to do, is to find ways of bringing people together that defeats this evil lockdown. It's not an evil lockdown, it's a lockdown. But what we want to do is we want to bring people together, however we choose to do it. And these are just 4 ideas three ideas that I plucked out of thin air. I could sit down and I could come up with, maybe three more ideas. I'm talking to 350 people. 350 people, you're going to have some really, really good ideas, better ideas than I've got, about how we can use tutorial groups to bring people together so we can talk, so we can give ourselves the human interaction that we need. It's one thing to be sitting on Grand Theft Auto and talking to somebody on the other side while you blaze a trail through this fictional town. That's not really human interaction. Let's just make that absolutely clear. What's in human interaction is talking to one another, exchanging ideas, discussing films, discussing books, discussing the weather. I don't know. But that's human interaction. It's those small conversations. It's 350 small conversations that are going to help us remain sane and come through this. Again, bigger, stronger, faster on the other side. So come to us with your ideas. Talk to your tutors. What are your suggestions about how we help each other through this particularly tricky passage? This is going to be tricky. Let's just accept that. This is going to be tricky. So let's talk. With that in mind, and again, I understand that it's January, and I understand that not everybody has a massive garden, but I'm hoping that everybody has at least some facility for getting outside. The government has said you're allowed one bit of exercise outdoors a day. Take it. Please, please, please take it. Get outside. Being stuck inside four walls all day is not healthy, whether you're a 50-year-old fat, useless individual like myself or 16, 17, 18-year-old like yourself. We need to get outside. We need to get into the fresh air. We need to see the sky. It's good for the body. It's good for the soul. We know this. It was fantastic during the last lockdown when we had that amazing spring. And the weather was like nothing on this planet. Okay, it's probably not going to be like that in February, but that doesn't mean that every February has to be miserable and cold. And yeah, there's no such thing as bad weather, just the wrong kit. So get yourself outdoors. You're allowed one bit of exercise outdoors a day. Take it. Just go outside, get some fresh air, go and splash in muddy puddles, go and do whatever it is that you want to do, but just get outside. You're going to need it. One for the upper six now. UCAS, that now moves on to track. The window, and I think there's only very, very few applications out there that are not submitted. The window for that, the closing window for that is January the 15th. That's not our deadline. That's the UCAS deadline. After that, nobody needs to make a firm decision until the end of May. So don't panic. And a lot of you, we talked about the countdown solution, 2 from the top, 2 from the bottom, 1 from the middle. You're going to want to know exactly where you think you are. And that's going to happen much closer to May. And of course, by the time we get to May, there's a very good chance that the government might have a better idea as to how you guys are going to be graded at the end of this, which particular shape of sorting hat they're going to pull out of the cupboard. Who knows? But no one needs to worry about that until we get towards May. That's when the first draft of UCAS decisions need to be returned to universities. And hopefully by that stage, we'll all be inoculated and all be fantastic. And you guys will look forward to, let's be honest, a much better first year than some of your peers this year have had, poor guys. Anyway, UCAS action moves to track. Those of you in the lower sixth, this is when we start thinking about what you want to do with your next 3 years. Again, hopefully you'll have the certainty of a vaccine that will enable us to make reasonable plans going forward. You're in a much better position than your peers were this time last year. Overseas applications. Up to this point, Dr. Smith has done a fantastic job of building a really, really positive model that we've got there to help guide you through overseas applications. He's taken it as far as he can, and the action now shifts to Dr. West. And Dr. West is now going to be your go-to person for advice on overseas applications. Those of you in the upper six who've already got your applications in, fantastic. Dr. West will be checking with you as to the progress of those particular applications. Those of you in the lower six, this is when you need to turn to Dr. Smith to work out exactly what is going to be happening next. But much more on that much further down the line. Don't have to go into that right now. Okay, so that is end of part one. You might want to take this opportunity to take a break, go make a cup of tea, cup of coffee, whatever it is. When we come back, we're going to start talking about the SDLP. So, off you go. See you in a minute. And we're back. Like what I did there. Right. Now, almost all of you will have gone through the SDLP before, and so this is all old hat. However, lots of you joined in the lower sixth, and some of you in the upper sixth, based upon the turnout that we had at the end of last year, could probably do the refresher. So, this is how the SDLP works. I'm going to go through this very, very quickly. Come back to me or your tutor with any questions that you've got. So, shape of the day, nothing has changed. We're running the old school timetable, okay? VLE will have your timetables, but in due course, and I think by the end of play today being Tuesday, all of your lessons should appear on Teams. If they don't, let your teachers know, okay? All of your timetable on Teams should show all of your lessons. Let your teachers know if they don't. Let me know if something doesn't come of that, all right? So daily registration, this will be organized by the house parents. And yeah, if you don't register, your parents are going to get a phone call. And I don't think they're going to appreciate that particularly. So daily registration on the VLE with house parents. Lessons, as I said, are going to be on Teams. You know about this already. You should know how to access Teams. If you don't, pause this video now and follow those instructions. Again, within calendar, you'll see all of your lessons and your tutorials and any other meetings that you should be coming to. Make sure you can see them. If you can't, speak to your teachers, speak to your tutors, speak to me in that order, please. Again, much of this is going to be old hat for all of you, but critical point here, cameras on, okay? This is the policy. We need that human contact. The teachers need to be interacting with you as much as we possibly can. So while the default position for tutorials is cameras off, as we move into lessons, the default position is cameras on, from which it follows that you should be punctual, prepared, polite, you should participate, and you should look fit for the role, okay? So let's not be doing it in our pajamas. All fairly self-explanatory. All prep is going to go through the VLE, as has happened in the past. And I think that's just about it, other than to say that all of the support is there for you. Tutors, house parents, sixth form team, ICT, chaplain. And, if you need that support, if you need that extra little bit of communication, if you need help, the strongest thing to do is to ask for help. That's the best possible thing. That's the bravest and the strongest thing you can do. Wherever you go for the help, doesn't really matter. Strongest possible thing, the bravest thing you can do is asking for that help. And that's it, really. This is going to be a challenging period, but we've been through it before and we all came through the other side. And you've got a fantastic team that's out there to support you, whether it's the tutors, the house parents, the counsellors, the child safety team, whoever it is. We are here to help you get through this. And any suggestions and any ideas that you've got, then please do let us know. Again, I'm one person. The tutor team is 50 people. There are 350 of you. If you've got a good idea, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with your tutor. Share it with me, because we're going to get through this together. We can't go over it. We can't go under it. We've got to go through it, and we've got to go through it together. And I know that you're a very, very strong bunch of guys. You've already been through this once. Let's hope that you're the last bunch of people who are going to have to go through it, because we'll have that vaccine and we'll have a means of stopping this from happening again. And hopefully we'll make the changes to the infrastructure, the changes to our way of life, that means this will never happen again for anybody. We can dream of that anyway. And we can look forward, I think, to a very productive, friendly, supportive, and hopefully short lockdown. You know where I am. If you have any questions, please do let me know. But in the meantime, all the very best and good luck for the months ahead. Months ahead? Weeks ahead. Right. See you on the other side. Cheers now. Bye.